our price is our price, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, our price is our price. And so that's a part of just people first. We donate jobs to nonprofits, and so we really value that. And then all in is our last one. We're going to be all in. We're going to do everything to the best of our ability. That encapsulates the rest of them. Of everything we do, we're going to be all in. We don't just pick up the main bulky items. Like, we're going to sweep and blow afterwards. We're going to make the space look so good beyond what was expected. And then the fourth and final is just have fun. Like, I want to enjoy the things I'm doing. I want our team to enjoy it. And so they have fun while doing it. But yeah, that's the overall just kind of mission, and our focus on everything is really to become the leading advocates in our city for a cleaner city.
I love it, man. Because one of the things, I'm getting involved with some of the political things in town. One of the things that we really need to work on as a city is cleanliness and safety.
Yeah.
Those are two things that the city should not struggle with. We've
Right.
got the resources, and they're not being resourced correctly, in my opinion. So we're starting to put together some ideas for how we can improve that.
Welcome to the Exceptional Companies Podcast, a podcast for purpose-led entrepreneurs looking to master the art of buying, selling, or optimizing small businesses. Your host, Chris Seegers, founder of Exceptional Companies and author of Selling Main Street, has over a decade of experience starting, buying, and leading successful businesses. He's here to guide you through the complex world of business transactions and growth. Each week, we dive deep with actionable insights, expert interviews, and real-world strategies to activate and equip you to live exceptionally and build exceptional businesses. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Here's your host, Chris Seegers.
Welcome to the Exceptional Companies Podcast, where we discuss how to buy, sell, or grow your business. I'm your host, Chris Seegers, and I'm joined by an incredible guest today, Andrew Perkett. Andrew is the founder of COS Hauling. He's been an entrepreneur for a lot of years, been involved in a lot of faith and impact things. Really excited to have you on the show today, Andrew. Welcome, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Really appreciate you asking me. I'm excited. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. So whether it's podcast format or just hanging out, I'm here for it.
I love it, man. Same. It's been really fun to get to know you and your family, and we have a lot of similar friends in the entrepreneurship space. I think we've got very similar alignment on how do we tie our faith, our family, our impact through our business and have it be one thing and integrated. But I want to just start with a little bit about you and your story. So back us up as far as you want to go, how you grew up, why you chose to do entrepreneurship, because I know you were involved in the church for a lot of years, some of the lessons that came out of that journey, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah, so grew up here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, good old, Rocky Mountain High, right?
That's right. The heart of the U.S.
That's right.
The heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So grew up here, love it, but, went to school out in Illinois. I got my degree in pastoral ministry. So kind of grew up in the church and all of that, and thought I'd never step foot in church again. And God's got a sense of humor. So got my degree in pastoral ministry, and after college, that's what I was doing, man. I was a couple years of trying to get a job, working valet jobs and all of that. I grew up in a family that just didn't have much, so I didn't expect much when I was coming out of college, and so I was okay with a career that didn't pay much and everything. So got into
Can I pause you
ministry.
there real quick,
Yeah,
Andrew?
yeah.
That's a really important thing. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of folks come out of that space, and I came out of that space as a missionary kid, where you get programmed to have some pretty small expectations of life. And we'll tie this more into the story, but I want to touch on it right now. How'd you reframe some of that? Because I think God has given us this massive opportunity to live a big, rich, full life. And oftentimes, unintentionally, our parents or teachers may program a little bit of, hey, don't go too hard, don't take too much risk. But walk us through that a little bit, because that's really important, I think, to our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So the two big things that I think that I experienced that I don't think the church in general has a healthy relationship with is busyness and money. I think those are two things that when we talk about being good stewards of our money, we have such a small view and perspective of it, of what it really means to be a good steward. What I've come to learn is that being a good steward isn't just throwing all your money in a savings account or under your mattress, right? You have the parable of the talents, which was pretty when I started stepping into entrepreneurship, I was like, man, like scripture is an advocate of investing and multiplying and growing, whether it's relationship, whether it's finances, but that's a holistic approach to life, busyness, right? And so one thing I do love talking about, you had asked me anything specific I want to talk about. Now I just thought of this, but a topic I'm huge on is capacity and
Mm.
capacity management and cultivating your capacity, where it was really almost sinful to be busy when I was in the church, and it felt sinful to like make money, right? And
Hmm.
so I made that switch, and it's kind of hard to narrow it down. It's been a journey because there's a piece of me that's like, well, I didn't grow up with much, so there's that little piece inside of me that's like, well, I don't need much, and it's
Hmm.
true, I don't need much. But the benefit of when I do create opportunity for myself, I by default create opportunity for other people as well. Like we
Absolutely.
have employees, we get to bless people, we get to help people who are struggling financially, who have kids. We can buy them diapers. We've done that recently. We've bought food for people who can't afford it, right? So it's creates a lot of opportunity for us beyond money. To me is not just getting the newest, nicest car, the newer big house. Like we like those things too, but it's more so an opportunity to just bless people. And when I stepped out of ministry, we'll get to this part of the story, but my first step into entrepreneurship was investing in houses. So my wife and I owned a house. We leveraged that house to buy investments. And I remember my wife asked me, she was like, "Are we being greedy doing this?" And it was a question we both had, right? Is this
Interesting.
greedy? Because we
Yep.
had that feeling of like, we have never really even thought about it. Now this opportunity wasn't before us. We prayed about it and really came to the conclusion of like, well, we're greedy depending on what we do with the blessings that God gives us, right?
That's right.
Is it going straight to us, or is it an opportunity to help other people, right?
Hmm.
And so just reframed the mindset on that. And yeah, I'd love to go into whether it is now or later, but just capacity is one thing I love talking about because I do a lot.
So talk a little bit about that. As
Yeah,
you define capacity,
yeah.
how are you thinking about that? Are you thinking about that as just like holistically your personal and professional capacity? Like, what do you mean by that? Because I think that's really important.
Yes, overall, your holistic capacity, right? If I was to try and jump into everything I'm doing now, 5, 6 years ago, like I would not be able to do it. But over the last 5, 6, 7 years, my capacity has slowly grown and increased, right? And so the best way I could put this is where I started framing this a lot more mentally was actually when we had our first kid, where even with my wife, I was like, I don't think I can love her more than I love her now. But then, like when she was pregnant, and I had to very intentionally serve her more, rub her feet, get her water, and I was serving her, my capacity to love her grew, right?
Mm,
And it's the same with my son. Like the day he was born, I'm like, I can't love this kid more than I love him now. Well, as he's grown and I've served him and I've loved him, like my capacity to love him has grown. So that's where I started framing it more, and then started realizing, well, it's the same thing in life. Like we never know our capacity until we push the boundaries and the limits a little bit. Like we have
for
to
sure.
test it.
Yep.
And when we test it, our capacity actually expands. Like it's like a rubber band, right? And our capacity is useless if it's not being stretched or we're not using it. So I am a realtor. I do real estate. We invest in real estate. I mentioned that. I own COS Hauling. I coach high school football, and I help at our church. So we've got quite a few things on our plate. And the thing for me is like I'm always looking for more to do. And but people are always asking like, okay, how do you do all of that? Like
Hmm.
I don't even have time for my 9 to 5. And it's like, well, you do. But right now your capacity, that's what your capacity is. But
Yep.
as you test it and grow it and stretch it, like your capacity will increase and you'll learn how to have healthy capacity, right? Like you do a ton of stuff, but you still have time for family, right?
Hmm. For
And
sure.
being able to have that capacity, like people have way more capacity than what they realize and what they give themselves credit for. But because we can be so like almost demonize being busy, Like people don't ever actually find out what their capacity is.
I agree with that.
So,
And I think too, in that journey of capacity, yeah, it definitely expands if you do the things to expand it, right? So
right.
we do a lot of coaching and have a bunch of tools that we've utilized. And when somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to buy a business or real estate or whatever, but I'm too busy," one of the first things, and you've probably used this, is I'm like, "All right, for a week, write down what you're doing." And I'm like, I would probably guess you're watching 1 to 2 hours of TV a day and doing Facebook. I'm like, that's your capacity. Like, I'm not telling you to go do these things at the expense of your faith and your family. That's not what I'm asking you to do.
Right.
But I think you can get more efficient by utilizing tools. And you can also say, hey, you know what? I shouldn't be watching Netflix for 2 hours a night. That should prioritize my family time, or I should be using that to focus on, next things to grow, whatever we're trying to do. But I do think people have a lot of capacity. And then even just time blocking your day and utilizing, atomic habits or some sort of habit stacking philosophy. That's been huge for me. Is when I do deep work, and people overestimate what it takes them to do something really hard. We had a couple things we needed to do on the marketing side, and it was like, well, this is going to take us a week or two. I'm like, no, it's not. It's going to take us 2 hours. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yes, it will. Like, I'm going to go do this, and I will show you that this will take me 2 hours, but like no phone, no computer, just like getting the work done. So I think people also overestimate, and then they start deferring that because they're like, it's going to take me too long. But I love that, man.
Right.
So keep us moving forward on your journey. So you came out of college, going into ministry. You and I probably have a similar view of the church and some of the failures and positives and things that maybe it's not serving well, but there are some great things that came out of that. As you went into ministry and started moving towards entrepreneurship, what are some of the big things that you took out of there that have helped you in the business?
Yeah. So, the biggest thing in ministry, like it was a great learning experience being in it. So I was in two separate churches in the Springs after college. And it was just great on the job experience of managing people, right? Running something to benefit people, to help people out. So I got a lot of great experience, man, but there was things missing. And that's when I started to realize I was like, I have good ideas, right? So that's another thing I'm going to rabbit trail on real quick was there's this weird balance in the church of saying you're good at something and people and still being able to be like, I'm humble, but I'm confident in what I'm good at, right?
Yeah, that's right. Arrogance
like
versus
saying,
confidence.
Yeah. Because there's this kind of, you say you're good at something, people are like, well, you're bragging on yourself a little bit. It's like, no, I just know I'm good at this, right? So that was something as a young leader that irritated me. It kind of still does, but I learned a lot. I wasn't perfect, so it is what it is. But yeah, just there was a lot of things that organizationally and just like limits that were being put on things. Like I'd have these ideas and just couldn't execute them, and it was frustrating for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of my shortcomings that I'll admit is when I don't agree with like my boss or whoever's above me, like I just get really frustrated, and it's hard for me to follow something that I don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something where I was like, I've got to learn to follow a little bit better. Like that's one of the things that I was struggling with. But yeah, so I stepped out of the church in 2020 and left that to start a nonprofit. So we started a nonprofit for men's mental health with a good friend of mine, Taylor, and that was awesome. Got to kind of start somewhat doing my own thing, playing around with that and what that looked like, and it was successful. It was great for me. It was like, with that kind of weakness I shared is it was, do I have good ideas and will they work, or do I have are my ideas just bad and that's why we didn't do them? Right. So this was a way to actually find out.
Way to test
and it worked. Yeah. It was great. Yeah. It went really well. And then really got into just going out on my own after that and it was just financially, a startup's hard enough, a startup nonprofit. That's where my wife and I were like, okay, like openly admitted, like we want to make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to be financially free. So that's the thing. We used all these other terms for making money, but we just never said like, oh, we want to make money. We're like, we want to be financially free. We want to travel. We want to be able to go to our kids' sports games. We used all these things that all came down to to do all this, we need to make money, right?
Yeah.
So we had to make it a reality. And so I stepped out of that and got my real estate license. And that was the first entrepreneurial thing. So, man, there's so many experiences and all of that that equipped me for that. But one of the pieces of advice that I got from a mentor during some struggles in church and being under some leadership that I didn't agree with, that I was frustrated with. And for the record, like I always like to say, like we're cool now. There's no burned bridges, but I share this. Don't drop any names, because there's no need for that. We're cool. But we I was sitting down with a mentor, and he knew about my frustrations, and I was just sharing all these things. And he's like, "Man, I'm really glad you're going through this." And I was like, what are you talking about, man? What do you mean you're glad? I'm pissed off right now, like going through this." And he said, "Well, you have to go through this to become the leader that you want to be." He's like,
Yeah,
"Because
for
now
sure.
you're never going to do this for your employees or people that you're leading someday." And that was
Yeah.
eye opening for me to just use it as a learning experience and adjust where I needed to adjust and adapt where I needed to adapt. So,
Yeah. I love that, man. And I think like we're going through James as a small group and it just talks about persecution, right? That
yeah.
creates like perseverance, which creates faith,
Mhm.
which create, like it has all of the outcomes that if you don't go through it, you won't get that grit and that stickiness.
Yeah.
And that's when we learn. None of us want to go through the pain, but that's where we
Right.
learn ultimately.
Right.
And I think often too, like if we don't put ourselves through the painful situations and grow, then God's going to put us through. And he gives us a
Right.
pretty long leash where he's like, hey,
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't be here anymore and you should be finding something else.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm just going to stay here because it's comfortable. And then eventually it's
Right.
like, nope, I'm going to kick you out of here. So
Yeah.
the first time we met and you told me about COS Hauling, what I loved, man, was the thesis, and I want you to say it because you'll say it more elegantly than I will. But basically, the thesis was, hey, we want to leave our city a better place, a place where our people can flourish. And that is the core thesis behind your business. But tell me a little bit about that business, how it came about, and what you guys do, and what you've
Yeah.
learned through the process of starting it and growing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had been in real estate for a year at this point and was just like, hey, I want to bring in a little bit more for my family. I know how to start a business now. I want to get something else going. So I was looking for opportunities, thinking through stuff, and I had a good friend who lived in Phoenix at the time who had started a junk removal company. And I was like, man, I've got a couple trucks between me and my father-in-law. We have some trailers. So I was like, let me just try this. Like, let's just check it out. Let's see how it goes. And man, we got business quick, and we got a lot of business quick. And so it grew really fast. We made our first company purchase with a bigger hydraulic trailer 4 months in after starting the company, and just really realized like, you know, these bigger franchise chunk companies are just so expensive. So we could do it for a more fair, reasonable price, which is probably a good price for them. They have more overhead. I get it. But at the same time, like a price that's better for people. And realizing like you get into an industry and then you see all the problems that are in it and realizing like, man, there's so much need for this and there's so much trash in our city that needs to get
Mm-hmm.
taken care of. And so for me, it was I want to take my heart for ministry, I want to take my heart for nonprofit, and I want to take that into anything I'm doing and just help people and or do my best at it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all human and we fail, we have shortcomings, and I'm like I just want to do my best at it. And so we started it. Our mission statement became simple. It became to leave our world better than when we arrived. And that came from like I coach football. I played football through college, and one of the things like you go to an away game and they're like, this locker room better look better than when we got here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah,
always like stuck in my head, and that's kind of where it came from. Was man, we want to leave this place better than when we got here.
for
And
sure.
so more specifically, it's we want to be the leading advocates for a cleaner city. And so we want to have influence. We want to have like we will pick up stuff on the side of the road if we see it. No one's paying us to do it, but we're going to do it because that
Mm-hmm.
falls into who we are.
Yeah.
So our values came down to local trust. We're local and we're experts at what we do. So we want to be the best. I think a lot of times when people are so mission focused, that sometimes there could be a little bit of shortcoming in quality of work that's done. And
100%. Yep.
yeah, and I want people to feel valued because we do such good work. And
Yep.
so we really value being experts and being the best at what we do. Our second value is people first. And so we will always care for people. I have a quick story of it was only about a couple weeks ago. Our project manager went and gave a quote. He gave an initial quote on the phone. She said, "Hey, come out and take a look at it." It was a minimum job. So he went out, gave her the minimum price, and she was like, "I'm going with you guys," because she said everyone else gave me a price on the phone. They came out, they saw my house. She had a really, really nice house, and she said they all doubled the price once they saw my house. And she said, "You're the only
Interesting.
company that kept the price the same, right? Because it's our price is our price, right?
Yep.
It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. Our price is our price." And so that's a part of just people first. We donate jobs to nonprofits, and so we really value that. And then all in is our last one, where we're going to be all in. We're going to do everything to the best of our ability. That encapsulates the rest of them. Of everything we do, we're going to be all in. We don't just pick up the main bulky items. Like, we're going to sweep and blow afterwards. We're going to make the space look so good beyond what's expected. And then the fourth and final is just have fun. Like, I want to enjoy the things I'm doing. I want our team to enjoy it. And so they have fun while doing it. But yeah, that's the overall just kind of mission, and our focus on everything is really to become the leading advocates in our city for a cleaner city.
I love it, man. Because one of the things, I'm getting involved with some of the political things in town. One of the things that we really need to work on as a city is cleanliness and safety.
Yeah.
Those are two things that the city should not struggle with. We've
Right.
got the resources, and they're not being resourced correctly, in my opinion. So we're starting to put together some ideas for how we can improve that.
Do you like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now, and check out our website, www.excoadvisors.com. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show.
I want to back up to something that you brought up. So you started talking about, and I'll paraphrase it, but essentially, hey, culture, almost if we go too focused on the niceness of culture, right? Everybody wants to have a great culture, and hey, it's a great place to work and that sort of thing. Culture without accountability is no culture. Right. So you can say all day long, hey, we want to do these things, but if you don't have the accountability of we're going to show up and be excellent, then ultimately your client, your team are not going to be served well. And I think the pursuit of excellence is one of our gifts, as being people that are created to be incredible creators, right? But let's talk a little bit about culture. This has been a question I've been diving into, is just, what does culture mean to you? And how do you affect good culture consistently over a 10-year period?
Yeah. Culture to me, it's, especially as like a company, like, it is when people look at you and when people see you, it's what they say about you. Like, that company is this, right? And internally. So I'm big on, like, this is who we are, and being able to say words like, hey, that's not what we do. When you can start saying that and and everyone knows that, like, that's when your culture is there, of saying, hey, that's not who we are. That's not what we do. Right. Or other people saying, oh, that's COS Hauling. Like, those guys care about people. Those guys do a great job. Like, to me, those are, I guess, proof of your culture. But yeah, absolutely. Accountability is huge. I mean, there's a couple things of, one, culture has to be presented with clarity. Because I think people are, a lot of times, are too vague with, oh, we are good at what we do, or we want to be good. It's like, oh, okay. Like, why are we good? Because we go the extra step every time, because we're all in. Like, we're good because our guys will stay an extra 20 minutes to have a conversation with the customer, and they'll clean and sweep and blow with the leaf blower and make sure it's done, right? And if it's not, then I'll go back out and they'll make sure it meets the standards, right? But yeah, accountability is so important. And when you're creating culture, my favorite quote on culture is by Craig Groeschel. He says, culture is a combination of what you create and what you allow, right? So it's what you create initially. So we are constantly creating and recreating who we are, what our culture is, and clearly communicating it to everybody on our team. And that's a huge part. It's like, you can't have people reach expectations that aren't communicated to them, right? Or communicated clearly. And then once you create it, you can't create it. But then if something happens that goes against it, you don't say anything. it doesn't
Right.
matter that you created it, right? Because there's no, like you said, there's no accountability.
For
So he
sure.
says culture is a combination of what you create and what you allow. And so, we don't allow certain things. I mean, you had mentioned earlier, I don't remember if this is just when we were talking before, but how we do things differently as a blue collar company. Like
Hmm.
our guys cannot and will not smoke in the truck, around the truck, on the job. Like you can do it after work, but we've heard of other companies that show up, the guy gets to the job, flicks out a cigarette and walks
Yep.
up, and I'm just like, that's not who we are. We don't do that,
Yep.
right?
For sure.
What you choose to
And
do
we've
in
had
your own
that
time, like
happen at
that's
our
fine.
house when we were building it. I mean, there's the one guy that
Yeah,
there's probably, and this is actually kind of a funny story. It's disgusting, but this one guy that was installing all the tile, he would smoke cigarettes and then throw them on the front of our driveway, and the house was not completed yet. And so we'd come over there, right, to check on the progress, and it just drove me crazy. And I said, hey
yeah,
man, you really got to not do this, please. Respect. This is our house, right? Like
right,
this is not a parking lot, on the backside of a dump where you just feel
right.
like you can do this. And as I'm telling him this, my daughter she was probably like, I don't know, 12 to 14 months. She had just started walking. She goes over and she picks up a cigarette butt off the ground and puts it in her mouth.
Oh
And I'm like,
no,
oh my gosh, don't do that. That's so
no.
disgusting. So yeah, I mean, what we do on a daily basis and where we go and how, like how we present ourselves matters. I'll give you another example. We interviewed a company that was in the white collar services space, and we showed up to the meeting, and this was going to be, hey, we potentially come on as a client, and I always wear a suit coat, and my wife was dressed really well, and we're here to do work, right? We're here to see if you guys are a
Mhm.
fit, we're a fit. And the business development guy for that group came in wearing chacos, a t-shirt, untucked, and what we're asking them to do is very complicated and costs a lot of money.
Yeah,
And as soon as he walked in my head, I said, well, we're not hiring these people, so this hour-long meeting is going to
right,
be a waste for me, because your
right.
presentation is a reflection of your culture.
Yep,
And I mean, if you have a casual culture, that's fine. That's not a fit for us, right? And if you're trying to solicit clients that have an expectation of being exceptional, which is kind of the core word of our companies, and you're
yep,
not presenting it, you're not going to attract those clients.
right.
So yeah, that's really interesting, man. I love that. So let's turn a little bit. What's some bad advice you've heard for young entrepreneurs or just young people in general, or bad advice that you got along your journey? And one thing that I bring up a lot of this, I wrote a couple books on how to buy and sell businesses, and I always give kind of like a chapter
Mhm.
on here's some really bad myths. Here's some, things that are out there that aren't working. One of them is burn the ships. So there's a lot of people that are like, if you go buy a business or quit your job immediately, go all in, focus on it day and night. And I'm like, for me, I'm like, that's really bad counsel. I want
Yeah,
asymmetric risk. I want you to go get that opportunity for your family and minimize your downside risk as much as
yeah,
possible. And so I've had really good mentors, but I've also had a lot of people that, weren't in a position to really be giving advice in a certain thing, but they felt like they
yeah.
should. But what's some advice that you heard or you've heard recently that you're like, hey, I want to
Mhm.
just bring this up and say this maybe is not the most useful mental model for folks?
Yeah, I will say, like, always surrounded myself with people who are smarter than me. And I don't know that I've gotten directly a lot of bad advice, but I do think what I see is actually what you said is the first thing that came to my mind was like, just go, even though one of our values is all in, like, you can be all in without being foolish, right?
Hmm.
And
That's right. For
like,
sure.
we have paced our growth in our company. Like, I've heard people say, like, well, you need to grow it as fast as you can. You need to get it as big as you can, as quick as you can. I'm like, I don't agree with that, because I think if you want to be around a long time, not a short time, like if you want to be around a long time, like, it does come with paced growth. But we have this whole instant gratification culture where, like, you're on social media and it's like, oh, I made 100 grand in my first month doing this. Here's how I did it.
Yep.
Most of that is either BS or luck, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Or
not
not
realistic,
sustainable. That's right.
not
Exactly.
sustain
Not
exactly.
sustainable. Yep. I agree
Like,
with
it's
that.
it's not realistic, and so we have been really intentional. Would I have liked to grow faster than we have? Always. Like, I always want to be further along than what we are.
Same.
But at the same time, like we've grown very healthily. We have grown steady. And that's the thing is like we've grown year after year, we've grown, right? But we're in a place where like I'm not worried about our business closing down this year or next year or the year. I'm wondering like, oh, where's the money going to come from? Like we have a really healthy systems and processes in place. And it's because I spent so much time on that and building that foundation for the business. And I just think, yeah, people are so worried about being the fastest growing or being the biggest right off the bat. And like
Yeah.
healthy growth is so much more important and just pacing it. Like we could have bought another truck at this point, but I'm like, we don't absolutely need it yet. So I'm not going to do it. And I've thought about it and I've had wise people in my corner who've said like, yeah, you're not ready. Right. And so I've had good counsel on that because I get a little
That's
ambitious, but that's the thing, man. Like I would encourage young entrepreneurs of like take your time and be patient. Like it's exciting. It's hard to do that, but it will pay off way more in the long haul if you're patient and you grow it right and healthy instead of just quick.
I agree. And so that's a fallacy I've seen on social media, which is buy a business and in 6 months it's passive and it's easy. And that's a complete lie. And that is good counsel for young people. Like take your time. Like we can think about life hacks and I'm the first person to say, oh, this tool is going to give me some, higher return than the other thing that I was using. But they're like building great things takes time. And no matter what you do, it will always take time. Maybe you can compress a small percentage of that time by, AI and different systems and technology. But at the end of the day, to build something really, really good that throws off great, consistent cash flow year over year over year, it's going to take you years out of your life of doing the hard wood chopping. Like it's just going to take time. I love that, man. So what about some good advice? If you've had really good counsel around you. So if we think about a young entrepreneur in 2025, there's a lot of chaos in the market politically, economically. Are we going to a recession? Are we not going into a recession? What are rates going to do? What should we do? What advice would you give somebody that's maybe 10 years younger than you, that's a little confused and just trying to figure out what to do next?
Yeah. The biggest thing that I would say is like people are your most important asset. Like people giving advice, finding a good mentor, good business coach, good friends and then when you grow, you're finding good employees, right? And for me, like I'm great friends with a bunch of other junk removal business owners in the city, and we're genuinely friends, right? Yeah, we have some competition. We're competitors with each other, but at the same time, like we help each other out. I mean, they send me jobs when they're too busy. I send them jobs. I mean, we collaborate. We don't compete. We're really, we try to. And so, yeah, I think people waste a lot of energy on competition and trying to take out the competition rather than just focusing on yourself, focusing on your business, right? Like I mentioned I coach high school football and our approach is, hey, like we're going to see what they do. We're going to scheme against it. But like at the end of the day, we're not worried about what they're doing. We just want to do what we do really well
For
and
sure.
excel at what we're doing, right? And so I think people get wrapped up in their competition and then they slow their growth because
For sure.
they're more worried. They're putting more effort into taking out the competition than they are just growing themselves. But I mean, people are the best asset. Like find somebody. So even finding someone who's in your industry, who's been doing it longer than you, who's better than you, becoming friends with them and learning how they do it. Like you'd be surprised the number of people who are happy to give advice, even if you're in the same industry, and help you along the way, right? So I just get good people around you. I don't buy the whole, whether it's athletes or someone else who's like, I did this all on my own. This was all me. I did all of it. I did it all. I'm like, at some point, like you've had people help you grow it, whether you recognize them or not.
Yeah.
Like you've
100%.
had people, you have employees, you have people who are making it happen. And so I just can't stress enough. Like it's been people in my life. Like I just would be a complete fool to say that I've done this all on my own. Right.
Yeah.
I own the company.
That's really good.
Yeah. So
for sure.
That
and I think another thing that you sussed out there is comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And I'm not sure who said that, but I mean, like you're only competing against yourself. That's the only person that you should be thinking about, not your competition, not anything else. Just, hey, how do I improve myself, my company, et cetera.
Yeah.
And anytime, whether you're on social media or not, people, they always present their best face, right? And we know business owners, like, you're going to have probably 4 out of 10 days are going to be bad in business where you're like, oh my gosh, this person quit or that person did a bad job. The folks that are like, wow, I just bought this business and it's growing here and it's doing all this and this is how business is. That's just not the reality. We know enough entrepreneurs that are even way more successful than we are that would tell you the same thing. Like, you got to do the hard wood shopping and you're going to have really bad days and you got to stick with it. So 2 things to close up. One is I want you to tell everybody where they can find you if they want to communicate with you or hire you guys. And then I want to close with just a tool, a book, a resource, podcast, something that this year has really been impactful to you. But love to have you just tell everyone where they can find you and communicate with you if they want to connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Personal social media is just my name, Andrew Perkett. Find me on Instagram, Facebook. And then for COS Hauling, it's try to make it simple. I guess that's another piece of advice. Make it simple. COS Hauling short. All of our websites, coshauling.com. Our socials are all COS Hauling, just that, no punctuation, nothing. And so you can find us there. And yeah, that's about it. And then for books, I'm going to give a couple that really highlight on that capacity thing that we were talking about. There's one called Beyond High Performance, which is really good. And I actually don't remember who the author is for that. I'll have to figure that out. But Beyond High Performance and then No Limits by John Maxwell. 2 really good books on as far as just increasing your capacity. And I think it's a great place to start is like before you blow the roof off, understand that you can do it.
I love it, man. All right. Final closing words. What's something you want to leave with our guests? Just a word of encouragement or something that will help them along their journey.
Yeah. The thing, man, is just staying the course and being consistent. You're going to have, and this is life and business, right? Like, you're going to have hiccups and you're going to make mistakes. And I've made plenty, and I'll be the first to admit it, but being consistent and just knowing deep down, like, who you are. Like, for me, obviously with faith, like, I make mistakes, but fantastically and beautifully by the grace of God, like, I have hope and I have a future solely by his grace. And to be able to rely on that and lean on that, I mean, nothing beats that, right? I wouldn't be here today without that, frankly. And in business, it's the same thing, like knowing who you are as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, staying the course, being consistent, because you're going to have some really, really crappy seasons. Like I have had my really crappy seasons, but when it pays off, man, there's, nothing beats it. So, like, my biggest encouragement is just stay the course, be confident what you've decided to do and stick with it, and put people in your corner who are going to help you through those seasons. Right. But be consistent, keep moving forward. Like, it sounds really generic, but for me, I'm just like, it's so important to what I do. And I have a fantastic wife that, is even in the hard seasons. I mean, she's steady, she's focused, she's supporting. So I guess that's the last thing. Find yourself a good support system. So
love it, man. Yeah. Well, Andrew, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we'll catch up with you down the road.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Exceptional Companies Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you liked this show, please reach out through our website, www.excoadvisors.com, for free tools to order a copy of Selling Main Street, or to sign up for our free webinar on how to sell your Main Street business.